Hello, and welcome to your Bank Holiday Monday show here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew, and I'm joined tonight by two of my favourite. Well, we couldn't get Stevie, so I've got two of my other favourite Baldy podcasters instead. My good friend Kenny and Davie as well. Obviously, we are discussing the Old Firm match this past weekend. Similar to Rangers' season, probably a bit uneventful. Ends with a bit of a damp squib, and the most interesting thing that we're discussing didn't even happen on the pitch. So I think let's dive right into it, Kenny. Team selection. Any major surprises there, or pretty much as you expected?
Bayrami coming in was a little bit of a surprise. Shouldn't have been really, because I mentioned him in the agenda the other night and had a funny feeling he might play him because of the fact that he'd played Callum McGregor, man-marked him a couple of times, 1-1, and done really pretty well with it. Thought he did really quite well again. But in terms of the lineup, no, there wasn't really much. We all called Cyril Dessers would play, and everything else just kind of, as I said, for me more than anything else, it was a case of, would you start Conor Barron or Bailey Rice? Davie, you were right. He did start Conor Barron and not Bailey Rice. But apart from that, the team picks itself at the minute. And yeah, no surprises, Andrew. And the quicker this is all over, the better this season, isn't it? Because that was a turgid game of football to watch.
That's absolutely it, mate. Davie, I think the good thing was we didn't revert to a 5 at the back at least, or 3 at the back and then 5. But yeah, beyond that, Bayrami's the one curveball. But again, if you'd looked at previous Old Firms, you could have seen that coming. So not many surprises for me, mate. How about you?
Yeah, well, I suppose this diamond formation in midfield was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, I think that when I heard the team at first, I just presumed it was going to be sort of either 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. But Tierney was still up front alongside, playing off Dessers up front rather than out in the wings. So yeah, I think Ferguson's trying to show that he can be adaptable and show that he can try different things. So I think it's all part of what he thinks is a job interview at the moment. The team selection, I think absolutely right. I think it only boiled down to, as soon as Balogun was available, it was a case of, are you playing with 2 or 3 at the back? Him and Suter were always going to play. And then it was a case of which centre forward do you want and which midfielder do you want beside Raskin and Diamandi. I think, as Kenny says, it wasn't a great surprise to me what he eventually done. I actually don't think it went too badly for the first 25 minutes, half an hour. I think the formation kind of got into Celtic's faces a little bit, but either a combination of, I think we ran out of steam a little bit, and I think they figured it out a little bit as well, meant that the second half kind of petered away from us.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously talked about this with Stevie yesterday in our instant match reaction, but I was saying about 40 minutes, probably a couple of minutes before we actually scored, that if you offered both teams a 0-0 right now, they'd probably take it. Neither team looked particularly motivated to be there. We do get that goal in the first half, but as you say, Davey, I think our performance falls away, whether that's us dropping off or whether it's them figuring it out. I think it's a bit of both, really. And yeah, we just don't capitalise in the second half after scoring at a really good time in the first half. That's Dessers, who we've talked about plenty, so we may as well talk about it a little bit more. He gets his 25th goal of the season with that. And it's the fact that he scored that many goals, and yet we still seem immensely frustrated with him every time he plays. That makes him just a bit of an enigma, Kenny.
Yeah, he is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? Look, to be fair, we started really quite well, as Davie said. Set pieces, Balogun hits the bar first couple of minutes. Nico Raskins hit a header. We've had the goal offside. We were the better side in the first half, but that I don't know. I just noticed, David, you were at the game as well. I just noticed that Dessers was away out wide an awful lot. I didn't really understand what the kind of shape was to a certain degree. So I don't know if that was part of the reason why he got so few touches, because I heard he'd only got, 5 touches before he scored, 6 touches before he scored. Only one of them in the Celtic half. I mean, he took his goal really well. It was a lovely finish. He held off Scales really well and just tucked away in the corner. But he's just not the answer. And I hate to sit there and do that to a guy who's just scored in this particular fixture, but he isn't. It's quite clear that we need a more all-round football player to play in that position. I don't really know what else you can say about Cyril Dessers that we haven't said over the last couple of years. He's scored 47 goals in 2 seasons. If he gets 3 in the last 3 games, it's going to be 50 in 2 seasons. That is a good return. And I've said it many, many times. If he's your second or third choice striker, I have no issue with that. But we need a higher quality player to play as our number 9. And I find it just a little bit frustrating that the young boy, Hamza Egeman, I've now seen him out on the left, I've now seen him out on the right. Very rarely do I see him in his natural position. And when he did actually play through the middle for a little bit yesterday, instantly the ball was getting held up. He was turning, he was driving, he was doing stuff. And it is what it is, mate. It's just time is up for a lot of these players this season. And I would just like to see us in the last couple of games just be a wee bit more experimental with the team. Let's see what the younger boys can do, because there's nothing else to play for now, and that's the main fixture out the way in the split. So let's see what the rest of the kids can do, please.
Can I just disagree slightly? I feel that. Oh, I know. It's just I listened to the pod yesterday and I thought Dessers took a bit of a pasting in that, and I think he's taking a pasting again. And I get it, because his conversion ratio and his touches of the ball and his holding up play just isn't good enough. I get all that, right? But I'm really frustrated with Egeman at the moment, and I'm actually starting to understand why Dessers gets ahead of him sometimes. And it's not because Egeman doesn't hold the ball up and doesn't keep the ball, but his decision making's terrible. See, Paisley last week, he done nothing but keep the ball too long, get dispossessed. Yesterday, he beat players 2 or 3 times, but he then just ran up blind alleys. He tried to shoot when a shot was never on. He's got people up beside him and he doesn't pass the ball to them. Actually, he's raw, he's young, he'll improve, he'll learn all that. But we were playing Celtic, and the way he's playing right now, I actually get why Ferguson's a bit frustrated with him just now, because I think he's not learning how to be a team player as it stands right now. I'd still play him the rest of the season, but I think I get why Ferguson keeps talking about he's got a lot to learn, because he has.
I wonder if part of that, Davie, is he's trying to make an impression. He's trying to make an impact. Because you remember when he first came into the squads earlier in the season, he was doing things individually and it made him stand out and want to play. And at the moment, when he's coming on, it's for 20-minute cameos here and there. Rarely is the main striker as well. Like, he's often, as Kenny said, shoved out to the left or to the right. I wonder if part of that is just desperation to try and prove himself and try and, do something impressive. So rather than going for the easy option or the sensible pass, as you say, he's throwing in some weird and wild ones instead and rushing those decisions.
Well, I agree with all that, David. I genuinely do. He is frustrating at times, but for me personally, I just feel that he's only going to improve with game time, and I think you can see it in him when he's out left or out right. He just doesn't like it there. He's got to learn the game. He's got to learn the system he's playing in, but I think you're wasting him out there, and that's all I'm saying about it. I'm not here to stick the boot into Cyril Dessers. I've defended him plenty, but that first half, he was just non-existent. And despite Cyril Dessers, as I say, I thought we were the better side, and it's no slight on the guy. As I say, I found he was out wide an awful lot of times, and Czerny was coming into the middle and stuff, and I couldn't really figure out what we were trying to do. And I think part of that was because of that diamond that you were talking about that ended up giving them acres down our sides, didn't it? Time and time again, the ball was coming. Their 2 fullbacks would just kind of invert, and there was loads of space out there, and it was a kind of a weird system, I thought, yesterday. I don't know what you felt, Davie, but I genuinely thought it was a kind of odd system.
I think the idea in the first half was that we kind of gave up the wings. So I think whenever they had possession, the two forwards went wide and one went on each fullback, which meant there was no actual centre. There was no centre forward. Bajrami was the furthest player forward in the middle all the time when they had the ball. And if the ball turns over, our two strikers are left out wide. And there's nobody in the middle when we won the ball. It was almost like that system works best, I think, if you've got fullbacks that can bomb on, and your two midfield players are the ones that drop back. But we didn't really bomb the two fullbacks on, which left it. I think the two strikers were trying to defend mark fullbacks rather than actually try and create chances in the first half. And the other thing I'll say about, I don't think Dessers plays well with anybody else up front. Whether it's Dessers and Danilo, whether it's Dessers and Czerny, whether it's Dessers and Enigma, I don't think he's a player that plays well with a partner. I think he's one of these guys that likes to play up front his own. For me, it's crying out. I thought Egeman and Danilo as a partnership looked quite promising earlier in the season. I think they seem to be the same kind of wavelength. They seem to play these nice wee 1-2s on the edge of the box, make space for each other. I'd try that. If he wants to try diamonds, if he wants to try two up front, if he wants to try a pairing, I would go with they two.
I completely agree, Davey. Because again, how many times did that happen this season where we stumbled into a system that looked like it worked really well, and then obviously we had to change that as soon as possible? So we can't be having that. We can't be having a system that works. Good Lord, this is Rangers for God's sake. I want to grab some questions out of the audience because some guys making some good points. That's one, Kenny. Thank you. We were going to come on to that. Barry Ferguson's substitutions were baffling. Czerny off for Egeman. I think the player to take off there is probably Bajrami, not Czerny, because you're hoping that they're both more attack-minded players, and you're hoping that they're doing something. But Kenny, what did you make of it?
Baffling, to be honest. I think. Listen, before I say anything, I don't think Czerny had a good game yesterday. I genuinely thought he was quite off it, but he is one of those guys that has that moment of brilliance. And how many times have we said on here, we are a moments team? So you're taking one of your potential moments off the park for another potential moments player to a certain degree as well. But I agree with you. I would have thought that at that point, if you're going to go and try and win the game, going man-to-man on Callum McGregor is kind of pointless. Just go and make it a little bit more of an open game, try and get the ball forward a little bit quicker. And I'll be honest, I've sat here for the last month or whatever now, kind of getting bamboozled by Barry Ferguson's substitutions. I just don't understand a lot of them. A lot of them, I'm kind of genuinely looking at it when I'm confused. He's, and I don't want to sit and be cheeky about it, but it's almost like a Tinkerman kind of feeling that he's chopping and changing everything all the time. And I think it's confusing the players a little bit. And I'll tell you what, Czerny was absolutely fuming again, taking off. He really was. You could see it as he was coming off the park. And I've watched the game back, and he's smacking his elbow and all sorts off the dugout. He's absolutely livid. And to be fair, I think with good reason. He is that guy that can create. He is that guy that can get past a man. He is that guy that can score goals. And with that kind of, 20, 25 minutes left, I found that a kind of strange decision, I've got to be honest. I just feel that you keep your best players on the park. It's not as if there's fatigue, to be concerned with or anything like that now. There's 3 games left. It's not, go and leave it all out there every time you're on the park. And I just found that a little bit confusing, I've got to be honest. And not for the first time with Barry substitutions. They're kind of beginning to frustrate me a little bit, because I genuinely, at 55, I've studied the game for years, and I'm getting confused by them. I'm actually getting quite confused by some of the decisions he's making. So that's where I'm at with it, mate.
Yeah, the other change, Davie, was... of course, yeah, go ahead.
I actually thought, I could be wrong in this. I've been wrong many a time before. Is that not the substitution he made at Parkhead that worked? Egeman for Czerny. I just think he tried to.
Right, yeah. Could be
It
right
worked the
there.
last time. I
Actually.
think he's made it right again.
I think it might be the other change that's made there, which we want to discuss, which is Hadji coming on for Bayrami as well. Hadji, I don't think, came on and had a particularly impressive, not even 20 minutes. And then he goes off injured as well with Bailey Rice coming on. He looked frustrated as well to be coming off and smacking the top of the tunnel on the way out and all that. But again, I think we're at a place where we're probably not going to keep up Hadji's contract. I think he's likely to leave at the end of the season. Just go ahead and just put Bailey Rice in straight away. He's obviously the next one who's going to be on the list because of how quickly they made the decision to bring him on. So, I mean, Davie, does it just make more sense to play? I mean, I know it's a cliche, but play the kids, or at least some of the kids, until the end of the season?
Well, I can only presume he wanted to play another, let's call it a number 10 type player. So it was a kind of, to me, it was a very like-for-like type thing. Hadji for Bajrami wasn't going to change anything because the two of them are very similar. Rice was probably a more defensive change, I would have thought, for Bajrami. I gave you a flat 3 in the middle, unless you want to put Diamande further forward. But Diamande had cramp by that time. I actually thought he was the one that was going to go off. I think he survived a bit of injury time, and he went down 2 or 3 times with cramp. I was
93
very
minutes.
surprised.
93 minutes is when he comes off, Davie, for Danilo, who obviously gets his customary 3 minutes in the game for all the good that'll do him.
Yeah, I was expecting Rice to come on for Diamande at the time when the substitutions were made. I think Ferguson's substitutions are, in the main, strange. I think it's the best way of putting it. I don't think he's changed too many games with his substitutions, but at the same time, we have brought games back after he's made changes. So he could probably argue that he's been successful some of the time. I didn't think yesterday's ones made a whole lot of sense. And I must admit, if I was keeping the same shape, I would have stuck Danilo on for Dessers, and I would have stuck Agaman on for Czerny, and I would have tried those two up front.
Yeah, I think for me that would have been the right call. But hey, I'm sitting in my spare bedroom and Barry's the manager, so shows where I rank in the ratings there. Want to get up a couple more questions from, well, not even questions, just little statements from the audience. First of all, Neil, hi guys from the Calvin Forwards Loyal. You'll now see, Neil, if you are a member, you get a little Calvin sticker as well. You can throw that up. It's all good, It's, not the most important reason, if you're some people, but for me, it is the most important reason to be a member of the channel. And Shorty here is using the Full Lads thumb, which unfortunately you can't see in the text chat, but you can see it if you look at the top of the screen. Look at little Stevie up there, adorable. So you get some benefits to being a member, but that's the main one. That's the most important one. Just get a little Stevie sticker. You get a sticker of me. Look at me. Look at how happy I am to be a sticker. I'm thrilled. So we got a couple more talking points. I think it's worth discussing. We did talk about this yesterday, but I think it's worth reiterating again. Bottles being thrown from the stands at their keeper. I don't like their keeper. I'm not a big fan of many Celtic players, but equally, I'm not going to be hurling glass bottles at them. It's stupid. It'll only get the club in trouble. You're not going to achieve anything. It's just daft. Don't do it.
I just find the whole thing crazy, actually. Why anybody has that going on in their head. I don't want to be a bell end about this, right? But you're a bell end if you're throwing a bottle onto a football pitch. You have to be. I mean, first of all, what is it you're trying to achieve? Secondly, it's against the law. You'll end up with a criminal offence, a criminal record here. What is it you're trying to do? You try to smack somebody in the head with a bottle? Is that really why you're at a game of football? There's no place in society for it, never mind in a football stadium. It's just incredibly stupid thing to do, and whoever has thrown it will pay the consequences. You'll end up with a life ban from Ibrox, and a ban from every ground in Scotland, and it's absolutely bonkers. And listen, I'm going to criticise us as a support a little bit here. This is actually the second time this has happened. This happened with Joe Hart where there was glass thrown at him, and literally big chunks of glass getting thrown onto the pitch and in the penalty area, and you're sitting thinking to yourself, our players are going there as well. What is it you think you're doing? I mean, do you need to be that stupid? I don't understand it. And listen, I understand people get a drink and lose their heads, but listen, it's to be condemned by every single person at Ibrox. Nobody wants to see it, and you know, I'm beginning to get to the stage with what's going on in Scottish football, with the amount of objects getting thrown onto pitches, with stuff that we're going to come to talk to, okay, going to come on and talk about, I beg your pardon, that I'm actually beginning to think that strict liability might be a good idea, because if you're going to do that and it's going to affect the club, trust me, that the fans will run about you, weed you out very, very quickly. And I've never really advocated for strict liability, but I'm beginning to think it actually, for Rangers in particular, I think it might well be a bit of a leveler because of what the furore and the nonsense we've seen in the last 24 hours, 30 hours now, that about, you know, an incident we're going to talk about. Well, let's see if everybody else is held to the same standards as us then, because when it happens at Ibrox, it's newsworthy for days. It happens all over the country and nobody bats an eyelid about it. And if it happens to our players, it's, oh well, and move on. So that's where I'm coming from with it. Absolutely shocking behaviour and not acceptable in society, never mind in a football stadium, mate.
Yep. Davie? Much to add?
I know, me press one mute button. What more was there to add? I mean, I'm old enough to remember the old days in Scottish football, standing in terraces with bottles flying about, and it was absolutely bloody terrifying. As somebody who was young at the time, it was terrifying. And I don't know what part of the ground it came from, how far back they were. I mean, they could have hit a supporter in front of them. They could have hit a ball boy. They could have hit anybody. I really don't know what. In fact, there you go. It's, as Kenny says, it's criminal. And I actually don't care if other people do it. I don't care if there's Hibs supporters do it at Easter Road, or if there's Aberdeen supporters do it at Victoria, or Celtic supporters do it at Parkhead. It doesn't matter. It has to stop. And that was the Fenerbahce game. I think there was something thrown out. The banners got all the headlines, but there was actually objects thrown that night as well, wasn't there?
I think it was like a vape or something like that got chucked.
Aye.
Yeah.
Well, that would still hurt you if it hit you in the head, believe me. There was the New Year game when I think my Celtic player was taking a corner and something got thrown at them. It's becoming endemic across a section of football supporters within the country that this seems to be behaviour that they think is acceptable. The only way you can stop it is other supporters shocking them in and putting them in, getting them in the jail. It's as simple as that. If somebody beside me throws a bottle, I'm reporting them. It's as simple as that. I don't care if people think I'm some sort of grass or something, because somebody's going to get badly hurt.
Yep. Yeah, I had my say on it last week, but yeah, just to emphasize that, yeah, it's stupid. Don't do it. It's daft. What got lumped into, obviously, the bottle, which I think is a serious issue and should have been highlighted. Rangers issued a statement. I think this must have happened while me and Stevie were recording, because we didn't realise that this had happened. And the time since we recorded that pod, and we've now gone live with this one, it's been investigated by the police, been dismissed as nonsense. So quicker than Cherney's, horrifying water-based attack on the Celtic fans. It's been dismissed already. The Tifo, which was horrible, terrible, awful. It's just a laugh, lads. I mean, this is meant to be the most hateful rivalry in all of Scottish football, and if this is where you're at, lads, like you gotta let it go. Like it's bigger than, like, it's not. It's just a little Tifo. It's just words. It's not even any of the naughty words that I understand that you get in trouble for saying in Scotland. So it was, I mean, it's the title of the pod. It's Storming a Teacup, because when we were talking about this the other night, we were in the bit where Rangers had issued a statement about it, and certain really impressive columnists were writing long screeds about how it was the death of civility in football or some nonsense like that. And yeah, in the time it's taken us to go from there to when we're speaking now, the police have looked into it, have investigated it, and found that it's a Tifo, lads. Like, what do you want us to do? You guys let it into the stadium as well. So it was a bizarre, I think, overreaction for me, for Rangers to lump that in alongside the throwing the bottle. The bottle throwing serious. We've talked about it plenty. The Tifo wasn't a serious, horrifying incident. It was just, it's football fans being football fans. But Davie, I'll go to you first. I mean, were you shocked, horrified by it?
Quite the opposite, actually. When anybody that knows me knows how much Graham Souness is a bit of a hero of mine. So I've been waiting for a Souness Tifo for years, and I thought, oh, there it is at last. Was anyone really offended by it? Of course they weren't. It was just all to do with because it's Rangers, and the Star Wars expression down the bottom of it wasn't very polite, but my God, look at some of the things that have been in other displays aimed towards our supporters. Crying out loud. I think we've not been called scum. If I remember when up at Aberdeen, it was players' heads had been decapitated. I mean, for crying out loud. I must admit to being very disappointed in the club and how they responded to this. They've been on about something like a line was crossed or something, but I don't actually know what they mean by that. I don't know whether it's the picture that they didn't like. I don't know whether it was the words they didn't like. But whichever one it was, it's no worse than anything that's been aimed towards us in the past, and the club have said nothing about it. So if other fans are allowed to do it to us and they don't care, then why the hell are they worried about us annoying Celtic supporters? I mean, let's be honest, they don't like us, we don't like them. That's it. If they meant to like our displays, then there's something seriously wrong with them. The Union Bears have done loads wrong, and I'm one of their biggest critics. But do you know what? Yesterday, that was absolutely fine. And anybody that's got a problem with it, they should just watch the snooker and forget about watching Rangers Celtic games.
Yeah. Kenny?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack from all this, right? First of all, the club releasing the statement is a massive own goal. It's just a silly thing to do. You don't see any other football clubs in Scotland when their supporters put something like this up, or something offensive to certain people up, put it that way. The clubs don't respond, they don't reply, they don't get involved with it. We've sat and watched for 10, 15 years now the Celtic ultras with their tifos, and they've portrayed us as monkeys, they've portrayed us as zombies, they've portrayed us as all sorts, and they've glorified terrorists and murderers and all these kind of things. And what I want our football club to do, or our board to do, is not what they're doing at this minute in time, which they've been doing for quite a while, which is sticking in the boot to their own supporters constantly, right? Actually going to start protecting the football club and the supporters from being a political football, because that's exactly what we are, and it's exactly what we've been for years. And I used to laugh, we've always been portrayed as the establishment club. Now, there's another club across the city that's the establishment club at this minute in time. Make no mistake about it. And if they're offended
Kenny, we're obviously the perpetrators of a vast conspiracy, though. Haven't you heard? It's why we've been so successful in recent years,
Yeah, well, exactly. 3 trophies in 11 years, for goodness sake. Yeah, but look, what I don't like is what our board has been doing for a number of years. And I've actually stuck something on Twitter, which I very rarely use these days, because I'm actually genuinely hacked off with our board for this. We are a political football. We have been a political football for the best part of 2 decades. Ever since John Reid turned up over there, whenever that was, that's when we started becoming the bogeymen of Scottish football. And Davie's absolutely spot on. Why is our board not once and not ever complained about a tifo or a flag or a statement or whatever it may be that's insulting to us? Now, being insulted is a subjective thing. I've always just felt like if you're going to be offended, okay, be offended. Nobody's committing any crimes. Nobody's doing anything. If you want to be offended, that's up to you. Other people won't be offended by whatever. I personally, I'm not a massive fan of all the tifos and stuff like that. Sometimes they look brilliant, yeah, but I'm an old guy. I'm like Davie. I don't really get the whole thing. That just seems like a whole lot of time to prepare and paint and all these things that they're doing. And it looked fantastic yesterday. I have to say it did look great. But if you're offended by that, then it says more about Scotland as a society. Because as I say, I've said this for years, that Scotland is now meant to be this all-inclusive, multicultural, little nation. And the simple fact is that the only people in this country that everybody seems to have carte blanche to sit and kick in the nuts constantly is Rangers supporters. And the reason for that is because our board are a bunch of lightweights that allow it to happen, don't defend the club, don't defend their traditions, don't defend the supporters, and don't get it. That's where I'm at with it. They just don't understand. And for them, as Davie mentioned, I want to just point this out. For Davie to turn around and mention that is really interesting, because I noticed it as well when they said about a line being crossed. What are you talking about? Who up there thought that was a good thing to write? Actually sat there and went, right, okay, we'll release this. What we'll do is the criminality that's being that's occurred in our stadium, we'll kind of gloss over that and have a right go at something that's not criminal. It's just offensive to anybody that probably spent their entire lives calling themselves a rebel. And I just don't get it. I genuinely don't get our football club sometimes, because I just feel that we are in a situation over the last 5 years or so that everybody up there needs a little bit of an education on what Rangers are, what their traditions have been, what they should be remaining, and get on with doing the job and running the business and making it as successful as you can, getting a half-decent football team instead of every other week sticking the boot into a bunch of young boys for doing nothing wrong. It's pathetic, actually, and it really has hacked me off. I just find it really tedious that our club does this to our supporters all the time, Andrew, but never attacks anybody else, never gets offended by anybody else, but they can get offended by our own. I mean, what are you all about?
It was good, Kenny. It was good. Just felt strong. Listen, no, go ahead.
No, I mean it though. I genuinely do.
No, I agree.
Actually, the annoyance in me that I'm really hacked off with our board. I'm not hacked off at John Swinney coming out and blabbing his mouth off about Rangers the same way Hamza Youssef and Nicola Sturgeon have done over the years. We are a political football, and our board, our CEO, and the rest of that board need to wise up to that. Honestly, it's pathetic.
No, I agree. Listen, you can't be in a position where you're constantly relying on one group to attack just because it's easy, because it's a quick win. You cannot rely on that, because eventually you'll cross a line and then nothing good comes of that. So I'm going to park that and leave it. It's a longer conversation, right? I
will say one thing in defence of my fellow Baldy in the corner there. Jack and Victor, we're going to sound like by the time this is finished. When this takeover is going to happen, right? if they want to grow the business, which undoubtedly is what they want to do, right? The one way you don't grow a business is to hack off your customer base. That's entirely the wrong way of doing it, because in Scotland, if you're not a Rangers supporter, you're unlikely to become one. See, if you support someone else, you're not going to become one of us, right? So the most important customers are those that actually follow the club. So from a business point of view, if you want to keep on side your customer base, the last thing you do is criticise them and stay silent about them that criticise you. That's just bonkers. That makes no business sense. Forget about the rights and the wrongs and the politics of the whole thing. It's just hacking Rangers supporters off. And what business sense does that actually make?
Listen, Andrew, the boy Haggis is in the comments and he said, is it just a case about doing this for the new takeover and stuff like that? Well, listen, I'll point this out very quickly, that if you look at the San Francisco 49ers, it's a one club, if you want to call it that, state, isn't it? City. San Francisco. Leeds are a one club city, are in a one club city. This isn't a one club city. They're going to have to get the nuances of that very, very quickly. And this is supposed to be the fiercest rivalry on earth. And meanwhile, what we're doing is sanitising one set of supporters to the point where you've got to sit there and whimper while the other set can go and do whatever the hell they like. It's not on. And as I say, the political side of it, we've watched over the last 15, 20 years when the SNP have got into power and all that. But I just find it really, really bad PR for our board to do that. As you say, Davie, all they've done is managed to hack off the entire support from one stupid statement made almost instantly after the game. And what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are to sit there and criticise like that? You're only you're here temporarily. We're here forever. So just understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, and I want to draw a line under it because we've got other things to talk about. But we've discussed the behaviour of Union Bears in the past, and some of it we've agreed with, and some of it we've been annoyed by because it's when it's impacting on the football club. But if you decide to overreact to everything that your own support does, as you say, Davie, that's your existing customer base. If you're just looking to grow the business, you're going to try and, yes, you want to be inclusive of new people who want to come in, but you got to have some love for your existing fans as well. Anyway, like I said, we could go on about this all night, I am sure. But let's move on. We've only got a couple more bits to discuss anyway. First of all, we're done with this season. We've got 3 more games to play, but we are done with this season. There's no big games left. There's nothing to play for. Exciting as it's going to be to go up to Easter Road. I think we're done with this season. But Davie, I'll let you talk for a little bit. What are you looking for certainly for this weekend's game coming up, but for the rest of the season overall, I guess?
Well, maybe a Tifo that annoys Aberdeen supporters would be good now. Yeah, just to show that we can hate somebody else as well. No, all joking aside, I think Kenny mentioned it earlier on. The last 3 games for me are about trying out systems, formations, players who we are more sure are going to be there next season. Now, in saying that, I don't think there's anyone guaranteed to be there next season, because I don't think there's anyone that's absolutely irreplaceable or empty that you say is not for sale. So you never know. But surely Insiala's got to play at the back. He's got to. Rice has got to get some more time in midfield. Iggaman's got to play up front. It's a shame that boy Curtis has got injured in the Glasgow Cup final, because I would have tried him on the right side instead of Czerny, because Czerny's on loan anyway. So for me, it was a pretty obvious one. But I just want to see us playing as if the shackles are off. Let's just attack. Let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's entertain for 3 games. Play the most attacking formation we can, and let's just get rid of this season as quickly as possible.
I completely agree. we're just looking to get out of here. We had it as a discussion point, what players you want to keep for next season. I think, in fairness, we've gone over it, and ultimately, there's no one we'd desperately hang on to. Pretty much anyone can go if we can get rid of them, because the hope is that we get better players in.
I think Raskin's a bit of an exception. I think if Raskin signed another deal, you'd actually want to build the midfield around him. I think current Belgian international, still in his early 20s. He's got 2 years left in his deal. Even if he extends that another year, just another year, then I'd make him captain next season.
Yeah, I find it difficult to argue with that, mate. He's one of, I think, 3 or 4 maybe that we'd be keen to hang on to. Kenny?
Yeah, Raskin was the best player in the park again. By a country mile, he's head and shoulders above everybody again yesterday. And that's on both sides. He was just the best player on the pitch. I've said this already. You know, I know what you're saying about the agenda, but it is one of them. Who would you keep? Who would you be prepared to let go? There's very few that I would be desperate to keep. I would like to keep Nico Raskin. I would like to see us hold on to Mo Diamande. I think there's the makings there. Igaman, Enciala. I thought UFD yesterday is really beginning to concern me. This is now a long period of time where he's been really poor. Looks as if he's a boy with no confidence at all. Noticed in the first 10-15 minutes, anytime he went forward, he got 3 or 4 steps and stopped, checked back. It was like watching Borna Barisic again. Really difficult time for the kid. I hope he gets through it. But on the basis of his first half, the first half of this season, I'd like to see if a new manager can get a little bit more out of him, because he seems to have went backwards under Barry, I've noticed. Igaman I would keep. Cherny I would probably like to keep, I must admit. The rest, as I say, mate, I just feel that I'd be open to any of them leaving. Absolutely any of them. I just think that with new owners, with a new manager, I think you need as many out the door as possible, because they are perpetual failures. They are consistently letting us down in terms of performances and results. And at the end of the day, are we on my high horse again? This is Rangers. We expect much better and a much higher standard than this nonsense. We really do.
Yeah, I mean, we're ultimately looking for a team that can win. And some of these players that we have currently, and as me and Stevie have discussed in the past, you're not going to be able to clear out every single one of their players, much as we might like to. We're going to be stuck with some of them. So I think we've got a kind of a little core that we can potentially use going forward. But yeah, it's slim pickings, unfortunately, Davie.
Yeah, well, I think that I'm going to do a little history thing, because I'm in a Souness role tonight now after yesterday. So everyone thinks, there he is, my hero. Everyone thinks that he spent an absolute fortune and completely gutted the team when he arrived in 1986. We finished 5th when he arrived, the year before he arrived. He actually only bought about 4 players. But what he did was he created a new spine of the team. Mm-hmm. And everything else just went round about that spine. And I can see us doing something similar, in that if we get a goalkeeper, a really top class centre half, a top class centre forward, and then just start building things round about that, you might find that 2 or 3 of the players that we currently say aren't good enough, with a lot better players round about them, and a spine of experience, people that hate losing, physicality in the middle of the team, leadership. You might find some of them actually get brought up the way the Souness team. You had guys like Robert Fleck, David McPherson, Cammy Fraser, all kinds of guys back then who suddenly contributed when they looked absolutely useless, to be honest with you, the season before. You never know. We might not need 15 players. We might just need 4 right good ones, and then 4 or 5 others to augment that. And you never know, maybe some of the rest will actually come on. Jeffy's a great example of that for me. I think Jeff to be a really good left-sided centre-half inside him would be a far better fullback than he is just now.
We've shown this season that we can compete at the top level. the higher tier of games have not been the thing that's caused us bother. Our record against the other side of the city is 2 wins, a draw, and a loss, and then a draw in the cup final, which unfortunately we didn't fail to win on penalties. We have a very good run in Europe as well. The issue that's been picking up results against the other 10 teams in the league, and even teams below that 10 as well, lower down. That's where we've struggled. That's where we've had issues. So it's clear to see that there's talent in this squad. But as you say, Davie, the mentality needs a shift, I think, more than anything else. And having that spine in will help with that. Final point I want to get to before we close out is Barry Ferguson still in contention for the managership? He certainly seemed more animated, talking about the future, saying that the board need to make a decision sooner rather than later. He lit up, I think, a bit in the post-match press conference. And I believe you and Kenny have some different views on this one, Davie. But keen to get your thoughts first. And to everyone in the chat who's upset about seeing a picture of the Rangers manager, I can only apologise. I'm sorry, it won't happen anymore after this time that I've shown up.
So if you're asking, do I think Barry Ferguson's got a chance of the job? The answer's no. And I'm amazed if he thinks he's still got a chance of the job, in truth. Nobody's going to pump tens of millions of pounds into Rangers to try and make them into a club that's going to be Scottish champions again and take a risk with a manager of his background and experience in management. I think it's as simple as that. Who the manager should be is another question. But if you're asking, do I think Barry Ferguson's got a chance of being the manager? I'll be amazed if he's been told anything other than you're not getting it. And if he hasn't been told that yet, that surprises me.
Kenny?
Well, going by his comments after the game yesterday, I don't think he has been told that, because he was still kind of pleading to know what was going on almost. And listen, he's not going to get it. His record is not good. If anything, his record is actually, and I hate saying this, but it's worse than Philip Clement's, and he's the latter part of Clement's tenure. It's actually, he's just not getting results at all, really, which is sad for him, because he is clearly doing the job, fully committed and to the best of his ability. I just think these players are done as a squad, and I don't think he can get much more out of them. And listen, I think if we had come out in the first 10 minutes of the game yesterday, in the second half, I beg your pardon, and actually kicked on from scoring the goal at a great time, we might well have won the game. But we didn't. We just didn't turn up in the second half, I felt. And again, you wonder why that is, to a certain degree, that you walk in with that confidence and come out and almost sit in. So no is the answer. Barry won't get the job. He just won't. And I don't think any of his background staff will be hanging about either. But you've got to be honest. You've got to be realistic and say that the job that he's done, you thank him for it greatly. And he's been all in and full of heart and full of commitment to do it. But I just keep harking back to the second half, the Yilmaz injury in Bilbao, and the chaos that ensued for 20 minutes, 25 minutes when he went off. And it shows you that, with all respect to Barry and his backroom team, they're a little bit out of their depth at that level. And, we have aspirations as a football club to be playing at that level as often as, basically every year. So, no, I don't think he'll get it. And as I say, substitutions are baffling me now as well. And that's confusing me and kind of worries me a little bit. But I think in terms of the takeover, they'll want a fresh start, Andrew. They'll just want a completely fresh start. They don't want anybody, any remnants of this season kind of left over. I wouldn't think, to be honest.
Well, I mean, this is meant to be a change. It's meant to be a revolution, in fact. And so I don't think you can do that with too many remnants of the past hanging on. And, well, I think everyone's grateful to the job that Barry's done coming in. As you say, Kenny, the record that he's got isn't particularly great. We're still yet to get a win at home. That's really, really poor. This is the least successful we've been at home ever in our entire history in terms of picking up wins. I think it's the longest non-winning streak that we've had at Ibrox. So it's just poor. And I think that is absolutely the count against it. Folks, it has been crazy to see how many of you turned up on a bank holiday Monday. 1,900 of you joined us tonight, and we're very, very grateful for that. In particular, I want to thank our lovely members of the channel. They are subscribing, they are helping the channel grow, and as a result, they get to use the stickers. You get a little Stevie up there, you can get Kenny after most Rangers performances, Cheryl after most Rangers performances, you can get a little Calvin, you can even get a little baby Andrew Stewart as well. Look at him, it's adorable. That's taken about 2 years ago. And me as well. Stevie finally managed to make it happen. So you get little stickers. There's a little button to just join the channel. Little as 99p a month, and you get your name in the credits down there, and you get to use the stickers. And I mean, come on, that's what it's all about, really. But yeah, we thank everyone who's just subscribing to the channel as well. The level of support that we've had from you guys means that we can go to Rangers, that we can do things like we did with the Davie Cooper documentary, where we can shoot at Ibrox, and yeah, we look like a bigger podcast because of your support, and that means that we get that support from Rangers, from whoever else, from the sponsors, to go and make more cool stuff like that happen. So, Davey, I think if I get my arse in gear, and if Stevie does some work as well, we might actually have this Helicopter Sunday documentary out in time for Helicopter Sunday's anniversary. So that'd be quite nice when it comes along, mate. Thank you for tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 22nd of May. Not that long away. That'll be 20 years since Helicopter Sunday. Yeah, it's been great fun tonight. There's nothing better than having a good vent and a good rant about Rangers, is there? And it's therapeutic to all of us. We just need to send the video of Kenny to Patrick Stewart and get a response, an official club response now, because it'd be quite good. So I've enjoyed it greatly, and I'm so grateful for all these people giving up the bank holiday Monday to listen to us rant and raving. And I look forward to the next time I'm on.
Wonderful stuff, mate. Kenny, as ever, it would be so much nicer if we come on and talk about successful Rangers, but we'll keep soldiering along in the hope of one day, that promised land, we'll get there one day. We have a dream, I believe, to paraphrase you slightly.
We'll get there one day, my old friends. We will get there one day. Don't know when, but no, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And cheers, Davie. Cheers, Andrew. What I will say is that Davie laughing, but I genuinely do mean that. I'll stand by every word of that on that wee rant that I had. And it was a rant, and I understand that, but that's not on what the board have done yesterday to their own. It's not fair. Shouldn't be doing that.
Yep. Hey, folks, we're here to talk for you. You got comments, you got questions, throw them into the chats, follow us on the socials, and you can yell at Stevie. That's always good. He enjoys it when you do that. Just keeps it away from me, which is nice. Yeah, again, reiterate our thanks for you. Your support has helped us so much, and we keep on growing. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful to see. We should be back, I think, at least on Friday. We'll definitely be doing a pod then. Kenny, I don't know if you've got any secret plans for anything midweek.
Well, Stevie's away at the moment, and if he's back in time on Wednesday, we'll see how he is. We might get something done, but we might not. It'll just dependent on when he gets back and how he's feeling and stuff, mate. But apart from that,
sure,
we'll be back Friday, won't we? So
we will indeed. Some of us keep turning up, even if Stevie's gallivanting away on his holidays, spending all this YouTube money by himself. Sickening to see. Anyway, folks, thank you again for joining us. We will talk to you again. Until we do, goodbye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.